Rishabh IS Academy. My name is Prateek Bhandari and we are decoding prelims through PYQs. Today's topic is Vedic Age. We are looking at PYQs from Vedic Age chapter. These were the two PYQs that were asked. First one that was asked in 2012 was the religion of early Vedic Aryan was primarily of. The answer for this was worship of nature and yajnas, that is sacrifice. The second question was asked as the dharma and rita depicted a central idea of ancient Vedic civilization of India. In this context, consider the following statement. Dharma was conception of obligations and of the discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others. Rita was the fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Here, both the statements are correct. Now, let's see in detail the religion during Vedic Age. As we know, the Vedic Age was divided into early Vedic Age and later Vedic Age. Now, first let's us understand the religion during early Vedic period. During the early Vedic period, people worshipped nature and they performed sacrifices or yajna. The one who performed sacrifices was known as Yajmana. Yajmana. In the early Vedic age, the people personified natural forces. The most important deities during the early Vedic age were Indra. His importance can be seen from the very thing that nearly 250 hymns in Rigveda are dedicated to him. He is called as Purandara, that is, destroyer or breaker of forts. He played the role of warlord who led the Aryan soldiers to victory. He is also considered as the god of rain. The other important god was Varuna. He was the god of water. He upheld the natural order. Agni was also an important god. Nearly 200 hymns in Rigveda are dedicated for Agni. He was the fire god. He acted as a mediator or intermediary between God and people. The oblations to Agni was carried by him in the form of smoke to the god. Soma was the god of plants. An intoxicating drink was named after him. The Maruts personified storms. There were also female deities like Aditi and Usha. They represented appearance of dawn, but they were not so prominent, as male gods were considered more important than female ones. Now let's see the mode of worship during the early Vedic age. Here, the worship included prayers, offerings of sacrifices. But this process was not accompanied, that is, accompanied by rituals or sacrificial formulas. It was not accompanied by rituals and or sacrificial formulas. The power of words, that is pronunciation, was not considered to be that important. People worshipped for material gains like children, cattle, food, etc., and not for spiritual upliftment. Now let's see the concept of Rita. The concept of Rita is mentioned in Rigveda. Rita or Rata it is mentioned in Rigveda. It refers to cosmic order or the universal law. Now, what does this universal law do? It governs moral order of the universe, movement of celestial bodies, cycle of seasons, and it also represents both nature and society such that they should function according to established law. Now let's see religion during the later Vedic period. During the later Vedic age, the cult of sacrifice was accompanied by rituals and formulas. Thus, the process became more complex. The Rigvedic gods lost their prominence or importance. Now, other became prominent gods. These were Prajapati, the creator. He assumed the supreme position. Next was Rudra. He was the god of animals. Then was Vishnu. He was considered as preserver and protector. Object worship began during this period. These objects were considered as symbols of divinity. Society was divided in varnas or social classes. These social classes had their own deities, like Pushan, the god of the god who looked after the cattle, became the god of Shudra Varna or the Shudras. Gods were worshipped for material gains. During the early Vedic age, also gods were worshipped for material gains. But here, during later Vedic age, the mode of worship changed. Now, sacrifices became more important than recitement of prayers. These sacrifices were both public as well as private affair. In public, it was performed by kings, whereas in private, it was performed by the household. Now, the sacrifices involved killing of animals on large scale. The success of the worship now dependent on the pronunciation, that is, success dependent on the power of words uttered. Power of words uttered correctly. The sacrifice and formula became the monopoly of the Brahmanas. Thus, they dominated the mode of worship and they received large gifts. These gifts included cows, gold, cloth, horses, etc. But there was a major shift during the later Vedic age around 600 BCs when Upanishads were compiled. These were philosophical texts. They criticized rituals. They stressed on value of right belief and knowledge. They emphasized the knowledge of relation between Atma, that is self, and Brahma. Now, let's quickly revise important concepts from this topic. In the early Vedic age, They worshipped nature and performed yajnas. They personified natural forces. Important deities were Indra, Agni, Varuna, Soma, Maruts. There were also female deities, it is Usha and Aditi, but male deities enjoyed more significance than female ones. The mode of worship was simple, it is prayers and sacrifices. It was done individually or collectively, that is, both the ways. But the process, there were no complex rituals or sacrificial formulas. Magical power of word or the pronunciation was not considered that important. The worship was for material gains like children, cattle, food, etc., and not for spiritual upliftment. The concept of Rata is seen in Rigveda. It simply refers to the cosmic order or the universal law. It is represented by Lord Varuna. During the later Vedic age, the form of worship became more complex. Now, sacrifice were accompanied by rituals and formulas. The Rigvedic gods lost their prominence and other gods become more prominent. Now, the gods which became more prominent were Prajapati, the creator, Rudra is the god of animals, and Vishnu, the protector or preserver. Object worship began during this period. It was considered symbols, they were considered symbols of divinity. Society was divided into social classes. Each class had their own deities. So the Shudras deity was Pushan. He looked after the cattle. Sacrifice was the main concept here. But here too, the prayer or the worship was for material gains. Right? Now, during the later Vedic age, we see a major shift around 600 BC when Upanishads were compiled. Now, these Upanishads are philosophical texts. What they do, they criticize rituals. Then what they stress on? They stress on value of right belief and knowledge. They speak about the concept of Atma, that is self, and the concept of Brahma. Now here we end our lecture. Thank you.